Hello and welcome to Business with Smith Co. Hello and welcome back to Business with Smith Co. Today we're going to be talking about the forms of business that you find. So these include sole traders, partnerships, private limited companies, public limited companies, and all the various different things you have in form. Obviously, because this is a kind of a pretty wide area, this video may be split into parts. So anyway, let's begin with a little bit of a sole trader look. So sole trader is a business organization that has someone who owns and runs the business by themselves. So this is a very simple form of business. Especially in my country. In my country, being a sole trader does not mean that they do everything for themselves. It just means that they can have employees working for them, but it means that they are the owner of the business, so that they will take on all risks and they will keep all the profits. So they don't have shares. So a sole trader can't have shares in their company. Let's say I have a sole trader company that, runs this channel. You can't buy shares in the Smith Co. YouTube channel if it's a sole trader business. You can only really have, so to register as a sole trader, in some countries, business will need to complete different forms. But, however, there's one different thing. You'll find this in some countries where you are allowed to, go about and do business as a sole trader without actually listing yourself, without registering, if that follows certain guidelines. In my country, that means it has to be your name, your legal name. So obviously, you can't actually. You can't just have a name, and there's all different countries have different sort of reasonings and reasons why, well, not reasons, but different sort of areas that stop people from that they have to register. Some countries will just have a flat you have to register here. Now, liability. So a sole trader has unlimited liability. This means if business goes bankrupt and lost money, they can lose more than they've actually invested into the business. If, for example, they might need to sell personal possessions to just repay business debts. So this wouldn't be like all personal debt. So if they had a limited liability, obviously you could argue limited liability in some cases is a benefit to, the country, because you find this with some businesses rack up massive amount of debt and then they just file bankruptcy, but the people who are actually ahead of the business might be worth millions, and that's the problem. You see this oftentimes in business news. A business will go bankrupt, but its heads, its CEOs, its high flyers, its managers, its people who have got shares in it, they will have a massive amount of money because the business hasn't failed. It isn't a small business that just failed. I'm talking about businesses that are actually massive and they go bankrupt, which is strange because generally you wouldn't see this. Because you go, why? How did you go bankrupt? And then you find out, well, actually, it's because you pay the CEOs. It's because you pay the managers high fees. If you pay a manager a couple of million, you cannot really expect much if your business fails. You can argue. Or you might argue differently, And finance. So a sole trader is limited to the savings they actually have access to, or their ability to access loans from any financial institutions that use their business plan. So they aren't able to get other people to then invest with their own money, their own bank loans, their own things, because that's the thing. You're not able to have shares, so you're not able to really do much when it comes to finance, except finance you can personally get access to, and for some people that can be very limited. Next, you have control. So a sole trader has pretty much total control over their business decisions, and they can make all the decisions on how to run the business, and they don't have to take direction from anybody else. However, If a business is not able to pay for things, such as repayment of mortgages for business places, if they're buying it, or rent, then they can be, of course, removed from the area, which can cause problems if that is how customers view them. If that's an area which they connect them with, then that can cause problems. Now, the advantages of being a sole trader are as follows. So, being a sole trader tends to be, in most countries, easy and quick to set up. It can start operating straight away in many countries, thinking in the business way, if the sole trader is using their own name for the business. However, that would be different in other countries, they make all the decisions. They can't be outvoted over decisions by somebody else. So, pretty much, unless you have 51% of shares in a company, any decision can really be outvoted by just the majority of people voting against you. So that's obviously a problem when you are, especially if you're a business owner, because if you're a business owner and you know what is best for you, but someone else is going, well, actually no, because we want to see what's best for us, then, that's a problem, because that can drive a company to the ground. Because, as I said before in the video, you've seen this multiple companies that are worth millions, in fact billions in some cases, they go to bankruptcy. But that's not, you'd think that would be strange. When you look at it, you see, oh, wait. Because now we see that these shareholders, these managers, they're paid a fortune and they make a fortune. A lot of them sell shares before news about any problems with bankruptcy come along, and that is, of course, some should argue, well, should be illegal, and it should be greatly enforced. So, thirdly, a sole trader keeps all the profits. They do not have to share them with any partners. So, obviously, sole trader can be hard because profits can be low, but, you do keep all the profits. Now, obviously, you could argue if you're an LTD company, you'd make more profits, and then you actually end up keeping more money. But they actually maintain a high level of privacy when running the business. They don't have to publish company accounts with details of profits. Now, obviously, some sole traders might want to. It's the same with with this channel. We might want to post the analytics for the channel, because a lot of channels do this, but a lot of channels do this in kind of a sparingly way. They post they post data the amount of viewers who are subscribed versus non-subscribed. The aim of that is to get you to subscribe, and please do subscribe as well. Yeah, this is the thing. I think this is the first video we've actually said it made roll. Or, made a roll, but maybe not. I don't know. And the point is that that's sort of the issue you got there, which is that you do not have to tell people your company accounts when you're a sole trader, but that, once again, you might want to check that maybe your country, if you're listening and you're not from a country, then maybe your country will do things differently. Sometimes business can be a little bit different, the laws surrounding it, if you're in a different country. Other times, it's the same. However, sole traders also have many disadvantages. They take on all the risks of failure. Their failure is entirely theirs. The business, if there's anything failure, it may not be their fault, but it'll rest at their door. So they take on the financial risk, and they also take on the personal risk. And if you think about it like this, if I set up a company and that's a sole trader, and it does well enough to pay me, but not enough that I can, be jet setting around the world. Well, you shouldn't do that anyway, it's bad for the climate. But unless you've got a green airplane, which, you know what I mean? It's at that point which you go, well, okay, so that's not paying you a massive amount. That may only just about be paying your bills. Sometimes you may be, skimming, you have to cut off rent, or, stop paying for food, or you might have to go hungry, and there's all these things that can arrive. But it is capable of you're able to survive off it. But if then you fail, the problem is, what happens if you go to a person and say, oh yeah, where were we working for 4 years? Oh, well, I was working for myself as a sole trader. So the business is gone now, and there's that, and that can be a problem. Furthermore, they also have unlimited liability. So if there's any debts to the business, they will lose more than their initial investment. This includes personal assets. And if the business were to go bankrupt, I was to have massive debts, Like if a business is had to have a major investment, and obviously the business itself might have value, but then the business goes bankrupt and then that goes to you. Well, you're a sole trader, you're not in a TD business, so where's our money? And that is where it happens, because that is where the person can arrive at bankruptcy because their business has failed. And that's why some people prefer to have an LTD business. Now, they might not be able to expand as quickly as they like, as they may have difficulty securing investment from financial institutions, which is strange at a strange point, because you'd think that a financial institution would look upon sole traders as a bit of a better investment, because the problem with a business is that if I'm a bank and I see a business and I go, well, if you fail, our investment is lost. We can't really chase that because that's not connected to you. That's connected with the business. Obviously, the business is gone, but if the business isn't able to pay off that debt, then we have to sort of write that debt off, because you don't pay that debt, and that is a problem. Because obviously, I would say if I was a macro manager, well, no, sole trader, you have a home. You have a home worth 200 grand, let's say. Now, obviously, that may be inherited, let's say. If that was inherited and, but you're not making enough money that you're actually able to, live the high life just because you've got no rent. So maybe the lack of rent money being paid out means that you're able to afford to be paid less than the average person. But if that is the case, then you're going, well, that's a home. That home is worth 200 grand. Your business debts are worth 150. We're going to take that home if you fall into debt. So that's the point. Not if you fall into debt, business goes bankrupt. And that's the point. Like a business, I would say would be more attractive to a financial institution if they have a way of like putting the debt into someone else. But, well, financial institutions, I guess they do what they like. So, another disadvantage is that the sole trader business will have to carry all workload and the stress of business success. This can cause them to become overworked, because you'll see this with a lot of major big businesses, is that they just hire a manager, and then the manager becomes CEO or CSO or any of these things. They become the kind of head of the business, and they've taken all the stress and all that stuff, or not, depending on the size of the business. Some managers, they do not take in much stress at all, just because of the fact that they tend to split that down to other people. But the problem, of course, with being a sole trader is that you don't have managers, you don't have any of that. So that's a lot, and some businesses, that's all the work and all the stress of actually running a business. So that's two whole positions: running the business and all the stress that goes with, and also doing all the work that the business does, out in the open, not behind closed doors. There you go. Anyway, so thank you for listening to this episode. It's kind of longer than what we normally do. And the next episode we'll be looking at partnerships. So, please do join us then. Please do subscribe to the video, to the channel, and to view other content from our channel. It does help. See you next time if you do come around, because that will be helpful.